The reason why your marriage feels too far gone is because you're giving yourself that out. You're giving yourself the opportunity to believe that your marriage is too far gone. But maybe you love your spouse. Maybe you want to be with your spouse. Maybe you know deep down in your heart that there's something redemptive about this relationship and that it can be salvaged. The question is, will you commit to doing it? In this video, I want to help give you some tools that can get your marriage back on track, that can reignite the purpose for your marriage, that can reignite the passion that you have for one another, and can reignite that love that got you into your marriage in the first place. Now, when you entered into your marriage covenant between you and your spouse and God, this relationship, it immediately superseded, it took priority over all other human relationships. It's more important than the relationship that you have with your parents or your siblings or your best friend or your job, right? Your job. You could have a relationship with your job, believe it or not. Maybe those things have taken precedence over your marriage when they shouldn't have. Now, let me dare say there's one other relationship that gets in the way of a lot of marriages. Are you feeling me here? It's children. How many of us say, my children are the most important thing? No, they're not. They are very, 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 very important. But the one relationship that supersedes the relationship you have with your children is with your spouse. And that is the way that God ordained this. And so before we just jump into all of this, we need to get our mindset right around what marriage is. And marriage is a covenant. You don't have a covenant relationship between you and your children and God, you and your parents, you and your best friend, you and a sibling or a cousin or whomever, right? Your core primary earthly relationship in covenant is with your husband or your wife, period. If we don't get that right, then there's nothing that's ever going to really truly help you, because there will always be somebody ahead of your spouse. See, the Bible tells us that the day we got married, the day we took our marriage vow, the day we accepted the covenant of marriage as instituted by God, we became, these two separate entities became one flesh. In Ephesians 5:29 it says, "For no one ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes it and cherishes it, just as Christ also does the church." In verse 31 he says, "For this reason a man shall leave his father and mother and shall be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh." Here's the point. You are not your own. If you desire to take care of yourself, if you desire to protect yourself, if you desire to give yourself what you think you deserve, then you must take care of your spouse. You are one flesh. No one takes care of themselves in a marriage without taking care of the other. Why? Because doing so stimulates that need in us, that desire in us, that intimacy within us to know that when I'm doing something for my partner, I'm also doing it for me. If you desire to take care of yourself, then you must also take care of your spouse. You must meet one another's needs, both physically, emotionally, and spiritually. If you're doing what's best for the other person, then guess what? You're doing what's best for you. And when we take that kind of selfless act and apply that to our marriage, what you find is all of the things you were fighting about suddenly become silly. They suddenly become irrelevant. You just look at it and you'll go back and you'll say to yourself, what in the world were we even fighting about? When you put your spouse's needs ahead of your own, you honor yourself. Now, I hope this video has helped you in your walk with Christ and in the restoration of your marriage. If you do what I told you to do, you will find your way out of a marriage that feels like it's too far gone to one that you can't believe how far it's gone. The truth is if you love Jesus and you want to honor him, you'll do everything possible to guard, protect, and nurture your relationship with your spouse and your marriage.